How's it going, guys? JD here, back with another video podcast interviewing a top agent in our Douglas network. I'm super excited to bring on the next guest. But before we get going, I want to give her a couple of shout outs, accolades, because she's an amazing agent. Her name is Kristina Quesada out of San Diego. And to give you an idea of how talented she is with her team and herself, I mean, over 600 million sales in the past 8 years. She also did commercial for a small stint, grossing over 250 million and apartment complexes. And she's also at the top team in Douglas Elliman in San Diego. So that's where she focuses on a lot of business, but she is amazing. She is awesome. Let's bring her to the stream right now. We've got our guest, Kristina. Welcome to our interview.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Of course. So a quick rundown. I met Kristina back at Aspire. Aspire was a great event that was held up in the Southern California area. That's a great way for us to network and meet agents within our, obviously, Douglas Elliman family. And I met her. We instantly connected because I am born and raised in San Diego, and that's where she does her business. And so obviously that's my soft spot for me. Born and raised in my adolescent time. So a lot of great memories, but she has the privilege and the honor to sell in San Diego. So Kristina, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. I have a soft spot for San Diego too. I made it my home after living in the dry heat of Arizona. So I did the opposite. I fled to San Diego, and now I'm never leaving.
It's fun. People ask, why would you leave San Diego? I'm like, well, at that time, it was, I mean, still today. It's obviously
did a climate swap, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah. But I definitely go out as much as I can. Obviously, I have a soft spot for the beach. I mean, born and raised from surfing and bodyboarding kind of thing. So I definitely make my rounds when I can. But that's something I definitely miss. Well, so let's go into the questions. Obviously, you've been in the business for a long time. Tell us about yourself. This is bragging rights. And showcase what you've been doing, how that looks, and of course, how did you get into the business, Kristina?
Yeah. Well, I'm not one to brag, but I will share my
This is your time. This is your time.
So I kind of fell into real estate. I started out working straight out of college. I graduated in 2007. And if you look back at history, it was a terrible time to get into the workforce. But luckily I had a family business that I could jump into, which was buying and selling radio and TV stations all over the country. So got into that business, learned how to be a media broker, found out that as much as I loved being a broker, I didn't love the environment I was in as far as having family and work and everything all mushed together. And it was like we were around each other all the time. And I love my family to death, but it was a lot. So in meeting some people around town, at the time I was in Tucson, Arizona, I met a gentleman that was running a commercial real estate group. And he was like, hey, I really need somebody on my acquisitions team to identify property and help us buy them. They were fixing and flipping large apartment complexes. So got into that, and we successfully flipped some properties. It brought me to Texas for a year where we bought a lot of properties there. And then we were switching gears and we moved the capital markets team into San Diego while I was in Texas. So I was like, I'm not going back to Tucson. It's like, you guys need to move me to the beach. So moved out here, and that company basically had reached its ending point as far as growth.
Sure.
So I was talking to a friend, and they were like, you would actually be really good at single family. So in the interim, got my license, made the jump. Scary as heck, right? You're like, what am I doing? It's Absolutely. Like, now I'm going to this commission-based, business. My first deal was in Coronado for 3.7 million. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's a nice check.
Wow.
Yeah. The universe was telling me like, this is, you'll be all right. So that was a great jumping off point. And then from there, met my business partners, Jenna and Mary, and we've grown a team over time. The team's been around for 11 years now. And we have 2 full-time employees, a showing agent, definitely in a growth period, and not by choice, but we're all females, a female-owned business, and it's kind of fun to have that, and to see these women come into their own and step into their businesses, and we really pride ourselves on seeing our teammates grow and helping them. What's great about real estate is you can make this business whatever you want it to be. Absolutely. So we really lean into that, and we're big on supporting each other and creating a culture and really running this as a business.
Right.
So we've had good trajectory. Last year we closed, I think, about 75 deals, and we're on track to do even better this year. So each year it gets better and better.
Nice, nice. So your first deal, obviously, to the people watching it, that's not typical to have.
Very atypical, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So don't go like, oh, okay, I can do that. I'm not saying you can't, but wow. I mean, how could you not get the bug after that, right? Like, oh, this is what happens. This is normal.
Yeah. And I think honestly, with my circumstances, we moved our lives out here, and I have 2 kids and my husband and a family to support. And it's a scary move to make when you're in that stage of life versus just being straight out of college. So um, I was grateful that that opportunity came to fruition.
Yeah.
And it was all about being in the right place, the right time, and having the right conversations.
Right.
I think a lot of realtors hide the fact that they are realtors because 90% of them out there are goofballs and don't give us a good name.
Absolutely.
But for the 10% of us that know what we're doing, you just have to have the right conversations. And if you put yourself out there, then the business will come. So
Absolutely. It's so funny. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, when someone's like, are you gonna be I'm a realtor kind of thing, is you're right. You get that whole like, oh,
I
okay. You know what I
know.
mean? So like, let me tell you a little more, right? To your point, I think the top agents are running a business. I mean, that's literally, we are literally a multi-million-dollar business. That's exactly we are. We're
Yeah.
no different than a brick and mortar down the street. We're no different than that, right?
Right.
But obviously your execution and how you do things, it really sets you apart. But to your point, man, there's a lot more bad agents out there than good agents. So therefore we got to do our part. And I think by doing these two, it showcases that you can be that good. You can create something special, but let's also create good agents out there too, because we want to work with other good agents, right? There's so many times where a deal may fall through, one because the other side just doesn't have a clue what they're doing. You know what I mean? And it starts with, really making yourself a business, not treat yourself like a hobby, treat it like a business. And to your point, you can make anything you want out of this industry.
Yeah. And I think that's a big reason why we are with Douglas Elliman as a brokerage,
Right.
because they do a really great job at keeping the level of agent they bring into this company a high level of agent. So it's been amazing to align ourselves with people like you, and there's great agents in Los Angeles, New York, Miami that are operating in the same way we are. So I think it's been fun to join forces with everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm newer to Doug's Elliman since July of last year, growing here in Nevada, right? So, I mean, just in the first several months, I mean, meeting you and other people with these amazing businesses, like, wow, okay, now I'm with people with like-minded intentions, right? And that's so important that when we referral clients to any states, we know like, oh, you're in good hands. I mean, it's cohesive in that sense, right?
Exactly.
We're all going to do different business about how we do things, but overall, it's going to be the best service possible with people who know their stuff, and that goes so far.
Yeah, and it's very collaborative too, right? I feel like since we're privately owned, everybody's willing to share information. We're not competing with other franchises. It's very much let's help each other, dominate our markets and grow this business and bring elite agents to the forefront.
Absolutely. I truly believe that. And that's true. They when I joined, they're like, now, like, your Rolodex has gotten so much bigger by just saying, hey, I'm part of Douglas Elliman. But the accessibility is game changer. I mean, you're literally a phone call from anyone in our network, and they're going to take the call with ease and go, hey, what's up? How are you? And like, same thing reaching out to you. And the other top agents are like, dude, JD, of course. What do you need? Like, it's that kind of family. And for me, it's like, it's just such a beautiful thing, because this is my third broker in my young career, and you see the differences. And you're like, whoa, it really opens your eyes. It really does.
It does. So it's been awesome to get to this point and see where we started and where we are today.
Absolutely. It's a journey, right? And everyone has their own journey, which is good. So speaking of journey, because of 2023, it's a whole new kind of just new approach. I mean, the 2020, 2021, 2022 was a whole different ballgame as it is. We all kind of were like heads in the game, blinders on, just go, 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 go. 2023 is giving us a different kind of feel what the market is, with what it's doing right now. So what does your business look like in 2023? What are you doing differently? What are you doing the same? What does it look like?
So I think what we saw transpire here is in the fall of 2022, rates shot up. And everybody took pause. They were like, what's going to happen? Is this the crash? Is this, is everything just going to fall apart? And so we as a team looked at each other and we're like, okay, there's going to be less business to be had right now. So let's make sure we're getting that business. So we doubled down on making sure that we were providing information to our clients, networking with the people that know and like us and always want to send business our way, reaching out to past clients because if they're dealing with circumstances where they have to sell or buy, like those are great opportunities to get in front of them.
Yep.
So we were really proactive in doing more activities, knowing that it's going to take more to still maintain since less business was to be had. So by doing that in September, October, November, December, when January hit, and as soon as rates adjusted, everybody was ready to go home shopping. And it almost felt like we were back in 2021. It was crazy. And so I feel like by staying consistent and continuing to do the activities and what we do best, our business is solely referral based. We don't do any cold lead generation.
Very cool.
That allowed us to hit the ground running when our people were ready.
Yeah.
And now we've had a great start to the year. And like I was saying before, we're in a growth stage for our team. Our showing agent is getting promoted to a full-time agent.
Nice.
We're hiring a new showing agent. Another employee on our team who's licensed wants to now be a full-time agent. So we're going to convert her to that and fill that seat. And then we're bringing on another new agent. So April 1 is going to be big for us because we're all going to transition into that growth.
Right.
And they are all people that are going to do well and bring in more business. So the other thing that we're seeing right now is our price point's gone up. A lot of people have made a lot of money over the past few years. And yes, rates are up, but a lot of those people don't care about rates. So if you were talking to me 5 years ago, our average price point was probably $750. Start of this year, we're trending more towards 1.3, 1.4.
Yep.
And we have some big buyers shopping in the $2, $3, $4 million range. So the landscape of San Diego and the pricing and the average price point has changed dramatically. And I also think that's about having longevity in this business. As you stick with it, your repeat clients start to come into more money over time, right? That's just like the process of life. You make more over time. And so now we're seeing that happen with our referrals. It's causing our price point to go up. So that's been really cool for us to see too. It's really organic the way we operate.
Yeah. I like it. So when you said you're staying in touch with your clients, what are you doing? What does that look like for you staying in front of your clients?
A lot of phone calls, a lot of text. And then we like to do events.
Okay.
So
cool.
For example, in May, we rent out a movie theater. We invite all of our clients, all of their family to come see a movie that's premiering that weekend. This one's going to be family focused. A lot of our clients have kids.
Yes.
So I think The Little Mermaid, the new one, comes out in May. So we're going to, that opening weekend, host that event.
I'll come to that. Just let me know when.
Yeah, come on over. So it's not saying, hey, we're in real estate, we want your business. It's saying we appreciate you. Thank you for working with us. And, just by staying in front of them is keeping you in mind when those conversations do come up.
Right.
And I think where people slip off with the referral-based and client-based, sphere-based business is not following up and not keeping in touch. And sometimes we feel like it's too much, but as long as you're bringing value or truly care about your clients on the other side, then it'll translate. You can't just say checking in. Nobody wants to be checked in on, right? Like people want to know if you care about them and how you want to help them. And so say if you just sold somebody a house a few years ago, how's the house? Do you need anything? Are you doing any improvements? And being the connector for people. So we're really big on having a good list of vendors in our back pocket. So if somebody needs a painter, if somebody needs a referral to a masseuse, I've got a good one. You want to be the person they come to. Absolutely. So we really focus on being that connector for our clients and staying in front of them as much as possible. We're also big on gifting.
Oh, nice.
People like gifts. So if it's a holiday, we call them drops and we'll go drive around and visit them at their homes and drop off a gift for the holiday.
Nice.
People love that stuff. So
the personal
as possible.
Yeah, the personal touch I think goes super far, whether it be a handwritten note or like a personal gift. I think closing gifts is something that people overlook all the time. I think it's an amazing option, a closing gift, especially if it's super personalized to them, right? Even if they mention that one time, like, hey, my favorite restaurant is this kind of thing. I'll tell you what, I got you reservations at this restaurant this time. The chef knows you're coming, and they're like, what? I said it once. How do you like? Yeah, we take notice. It's important. That's kind of our job, right? I think one thing that's working for me right now that I've noticed is obviously making calls is important, but my conversations, I don't know about you, Kristina, are so much different now than they were before. As a newer agent, you're calling like, hey, you've got equity, you're doing a sell. Okay. Now it's like, what's up? How are you?
Yeah.
And then you're talking to them for like 30, 45 minutes, right? And at the end, they're like, hey, Kristina, I thought about this, and then it just goes automatically, naturally into that direction, right? Because they're just so comfortable with now. They're just before when you're just a normal agent working with a client, they'll treat you like an agent, right? They'll like, hey, I'm good. If you ask the questions like, how's your house? It's good, thanks, But if you talk like a friend, the walls come down immediately, and then just go into a great conversation. And before hey, that reminds me, JD, my friend Mary, she didn't mention, and that's what happens, right? And I think I've transitioned that recently too, where I'm doing more of that. Just, hey, how are you? Like, I know you're not selling or buying anything. I know for a fact. What's up? How are you? You told me about this restaurant. You're gonna maybe how's it going? You know what I mean? And before I know it, that transitions something much, much bigger. So I think the calls right now is super important.
Yeah, and I think you're right with that approach. You're not looking to get business out of that person. That's not the goal of the call. The goal is just to stay connected with them and have that relationship. So when they are talking to somebody else, you're the name that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
They just think, like we were talking about earlier, there's so many agents out there. So you want to be the one that's top of mind. So as long as you're staying in front of them consistently, then you will be.
Yeah, it's cool when I'm sure they get off the phone like, my realtor called. We talked for like 45 minutes, and he didn't ask for anything from me. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa.
Never ask for something. Never.
Yeah,
you need to be offering something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important. Like, wow, like he just became a friend of mine, right? And then my relationships have gotten deeper and deeper than that, and that's super important because obviously it's a big transaction, right? It's life changing for them. It's portfolio building. It's all that stuff, right? So when they treat you more like a friend, then obviously I always say we're a real realtor and then a therapist as well. We hear it all, either more than we want to hear or we hear it all, right?
Right.
But if they do divulge, that means they trust you and they feel comfortable with you, and that's the level where you want to get to. Because obviously, the only way we can help our clients the best is if we know everything about what they're trying to accomplish, right? And that's how I say, if you're transparent with me, I'm very transparent with you. So therefore, we know we're on the same page, and we're also working together. I don't work for you, you don't work for me. We're working together to have a successful transaction. And they go, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, of course.
And pay attention to the details. Like you said, like if you take note of something of interest, we use a CRM, a contact, database where we log every phone call we make, and we track every phone call we make. We track every conversation. So then when those notes come up, you can say, oh, the dog's name is Rex. And next time I see them, I'm going to bring a bone for Rex. Right. And we take care of our vendors too. So it's not just clients.
Nice.
Because we work as a team with our vendors. So I know one of the lenders that I did deal with, he mentioned his favorite band, and I got him a sweatshirt from his favorite band. That's like some weird underground garage band, right?
How'd you find it?
He's ever received. And he still mentioned, it was years ago, and he still brings it up. He's like, I can't believe you got me that. So I think that goes a long way, and it can be really powerful if you listen for those little notes and those conversations and make everything a little more personalized.
Absolutely. It's so funny. My last interview I had before where some guy who hired to do paint his clients' homes, the painter ended up buying a home from him. Same thing for me. I have a landscaper who was doing my yard, and then I helped him buy his first home. I mean, it's like the exact same. Like, he built it, and then now he's referring me clients, and I also refer him business. So it's a mutual benefit relationship by all means, right? Obviously, I trust his skill set. He trusts my skill set, and it's like he feels comfortable referring me, and vice versa. So obviously, being good in front of your vendors is super important too, because believe it or not, to your point, B2B can also refer your clients. I mean, it's very, very possible.
Okay. Yeah, we're really big on that.
That's
so
cool.
Almost all of our agents are in some form of a business networking group that's focused on passing referrals. So if I were a new agent, that's where I would start. I would start to get into groups like that where it's business to business, and they understand the power of a referral. And it's not just, kicking rocks and hanging out and showing up at some networking event, they all know they're there for the same reason.
Right.
So that's something that I think agents should consider being a part of.
Absolutely. I think it's good. Obviously, the rule of thumb is the more people you're in front of, the more opportunity you're going to have. I mean, it is what it is, right?
That's the name of the game, right?
Absolutely. But at the same time, brokers open. I hear a lot of things like, oh, I don't go to brokers open. It's just brokers trying to puff their chest and whatnot. And I'm with you. There's definitely that going on. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I've learned and got to meet more agents who are doing business. So therefore, when we come across each other, we're like, oh, we're in good hands. We're good, right? And so I think that's important too. That concept, because people are like, oh, well, why would I go with a bunch of agents? We're all competing. I'm like, yeah, for sure, right? But at the same time, you never know when you come across an agent for a deal that's a possibility that you can win if you knew that agent better on that relationship, right? I'm not saying become best friends, but also be cordial, get to meet people, because it may help you. And I know that's helped me in the past. I'm sure it's helped you too.
For sure. I mean, when you're in this competitive market and you're up against 8 other offers, if you have a relationship with the listing agent, like that's what it's all about. And then you can get the inside scoop and make sure you're in a position where you can put your best foot forward. So it is every deal, you really have to work as a team with the other side.
Right.
And if you build those relationships at those brokers opens, and we've put deals together with agents at these opens. I mean, they'll pitch their coming soons. Or they'll pitch a coming soon and they'll have a buyer. So yes, there's a lot of ego in those rooms sometimes. And I don't know if you have that here, but I'm sure we have the long time agents that have been around and think they run the show, and that's fine. And we'll all stroke that ego. But at the end of the day, the goal is to have good relationships so you can get your clients into homes and vice versa, and work with the other side and have them like you and trust you.
Absolutely. And that's also part of your script. I'm sure, like, hey, I know a lot of agents out there already, right? I deal with the top ones out there. So therefore, I might have inside scoop. I might have better opportunity to get in the home before anyone else does, because I built those relationships, to your point. And that's another script I say is like, agent on the other side, obviously our common goal is to get the home sold, right? That's our common goal, right? So let's work together to get the deal done. Obviously it doesn't happen. It is what it is. But at the same time, there's no reason to fight each other or who's better, who's bigger. No, we had the same common goal. Let's get the deal done. Let's proceed, right? Yeah.
Everybody just wants to close it.
No. So because the market has changed, I know you're a listing agent too, Kristina. This is a question I get all the time from different agents, whatnot. As a listing agent, the market is, homes may stay on the market a little longer now, or maybe for you guys, depends on the market, of course. If they are staying, what are you telling your clients right now? Because the market has transitioned and they're like, well, last year was selling in 20 hours. I get it, but things have changed, right? So what are you telling your clients during this time?
Yeah, so the way that our team is set up within my partnership, Jenna is focused on working with buyers and I'm focused on working with sellers. So my approach with my clients is it's really important to do expectation setting. So especially now, since things are so fluid, it's, hey, yes, the market was pretty intense last year. Inventory remained low. Interest rates were low. That was feeding the buyer frenzy.
Right.
Interest rates aren't there anymore. Now we're sitting at 5, 6. It might go back to 7. We don't know.
Right.
So how we price your home is extremely important. The prices and the comps from sales in 2021, 2022 aren't necessarily applicable. So we look at what's active on the market, what's sitting, and what are those priced at. We look at pendings because that's telling you what's going under contract. I'll even make sure I go through and talk to those agents to see if they're actually getting list price. And then I think pricing a little under value is super important to get the buyers in, because buyers are a little more cautious if interest rates do affect them. So it's really important for them to understand it's not going to be that multiple offer scenario. I had a client who didn't listen to my advice, and then we sat, and then they finally, decided to change the price to what I recommended in the first place, but it was too late. And so that was a great case study for me to make sure that I really push that point across, because how you come on the market in this market is super important. It's very sensitive. Buyers are very sensitive. At the same time, inventory remains very low. And if you prepare your home correctly, we're really big on home prep. So we're not going to rush you onto the market. We got to do it right. And then if you price it correctly based on pendings and what we see happening, then you're set up for success, and then buyers will engage. I mean, we still are seeing scenarios here with 8 offers on a home, and it's the ones that are priced well, turnkey, prepared well, and they move quickly, and they're going over list. So as long as you take the proper steps and listen to how we're advising you, then it'll do well. To your point about circumstances and if they should sell, or you know, if they don't have a place to go, we have had success with sellers accepting an offer contingent on replacement property, and we are getting them into replacement properties. So that tactic has worked. We've also, I mean, if somebody shouldn't sell, we'll tell them they shouldn't sell. And when it's time for them to sell, they'll come back around. So it's really important that you give the right advice and not try to push somebody to sell just to do it. And we've also been focused on circumstances where people have to sell. So we've been really big on getting divorce sales, probate and estate situations, relocation. There's a big military presence out here, so a lot of military gets relocated. So we've also just been focusing on going towards those avenues instead of trying to make somebody sell when they don't want to or they don't know where they're going to go. That's not a true seller. So we focus our efforts on people that have to do something right now.
And then when you're talking to these people, like you said, about selling and not selling, when you say like maybe you shouldn't sell, are they caught off guard? Like, what? Like she's actually saying I don't want your business, but not right now when the time is right. Are they caught off guard, or what are you seeing there?
I think they usually are surprised because they're probably used to people pushing for the business. But usually when it's not commonplace that somebody shouldn't sell, but it's more exploratory. Our listing appointments are not me being a talking head and talking at the person. It's very conversational the way I go through my process. So the first thing I ask them is what's most important to them in this process. And usually that takes us the whole way through the way the conversation's going to go. And I mean, you know, maybe they're like, well, I want to sell, but I'm going to have capital gains tax. I don't know where I'm going to go. I actually really like my home, but my friend said I should sell because it's a good time to sell. It's like, well, what I'm hearing is you like where you want to be. You don't want to pay capital gains that you're going to have to pay, and you don't know where you're going to go. So maybe now's not the time. Let's stay in touch. And if the market changes, or if I think you can get a number that's hard to say no to, then we'll reassess. But it's important to listen to what their wants and needs are, and then you kind of curate your approach with that client.
No, I think it's important. I think, like you said, my previous, message about just being transparent, right? It's once you sit down and have that conversation with them, everything comes out, and then you will uncover like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you just told me you love your home. You don't want to pay capital gain tax. You don't. So why am I here? We can hang out, but why am I here? You know what I mean? So, and they're like, and you're right. Having that open dialogue made me realize you're right. I don't want to do that right now. I'm like, great, no problem. But of course, I'm here if you have any questions. That's what I'm a resource, right? And then when that time comes, I'll come back and we can reevaluate again. You know what I mean? And I think that goes far.
And they'll tell you their friends about you, and you can sleep at night. I mean, I think it's really important to have integrity in this business. A lot of people push the issue and just want the paycheck. And this is a relationship based. It took, and by building those relationships, it'll snowball. So you have to do the right thing.
Oh yeah, and that saying goes, if you do one bad thing, that will go out much faster than do the right thing, right? So I mean, so it's super important, and it's funny. We saw a big city one now, but at the same time, it's very small. You're one person away from knowing anybody, right? So therefore, doing the right thing is so important, right? Not only for your name, for your team, for your family. I mean, it's all important. And, and people want to trust you. And that's important too. If you can say, hey, it's not the right time, with the price you want, it's not, I don't think you're going to get it right now in this market. So maybe we should hold off until, but I will call you immediately when I say, hey, I see an uptick. I see something happening. Do you want to discuss it now? And they're like, hey, let's discuss. Right. And that happens to me too, where like, hey, I really want this. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you kind of thing, but I want to protect you always. You might have another agent come in and say, yeah, I'll get it kind of thing. Before you know it, you're doing 3 price reductions. You're in the market for 90, 121 days. Now your property looks distressed, right? And it's not, but we just priced it wrong, right? And so in educating your client what that looks like is so important. But there's no better feeling than walking away like, hey, I didn't get a listing, but she's happy. And I'm pretty sure she's going to tell 20 of her friends what just happened today. So it's a win.
That's the name of the game. Yeah.
So it goes into my next question. Because the landscape is changing in real estate, I mean, there's so many things happening, from whether it be iBuyers, the market trends, international buyers. I mean, obviously everything, right? Where do you see real estate going in the next 5 years? Because the last 5 years have been a massive change already. So what do you see happening in the next 5 years in real estate?
I don't think a lot is going to change in the landscape of what the realtor role is. I think we're seeing clients wanting to connect with their agents and wanting to have that face-to-face. I think the exciting change in our landscape that we probably experienced from the pandemic and how we operate now is our clients are more comfortable with technology. And that's been an added benefit for us, right? So usually a buyer consultation would always be in office, and it would always be this formality, which is great to get the face-to-face. But also a lot of our clients are so busy that there's only that sliver of time over their lunch break at work. We're doing a Zoom and they get it, and it's not scary for them. So I think that's been an amazing tool. We've also sold homes to military clients stationed in Japan via FaceTime. That's a little terrifying because they're really leaning on us, and it's only been a few cases, but it can happen, and it's doable, and you're able to do paperwork from afar. So I think we're going to continue to see that trend of the comfort of technology with our clients, but I also think they want that relationship with you more than ever. A lot of the deals we've done as of late, our clients have really become friends, and really, it's been really tight relationships. It's not transactional. And they call us for every little thing, which I love them to death, but sometimes I don't need that phone call on where they should get a babysitter or which paint color they should pick. But that's what I want to be. I want to be that resource. So I think that's going to be huge. And I think I think a lot of agents are starting to fall to the wayside that didn't take this business seriously and thought it was easy. And I know here, and it's probably because of my age and how long we've been in this business now, is we're starting to see a changing of the guard. I think we're seeing a lot of what's now, I guess, considered old school agents phasing out. They did their thing. And I think it's an opportunity to get market share. And that's what really excites us right now, is let all of those other guys get out of the way. We're the ones that know what we're doing. And it's an opportunity to gain market share over the next 5 years.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that sense where, I do believe the old school agent is on its way out, and they paved the way. Don't get me wrong. They did their thing without technology, without all that stuff. So, I mean, applause. I mean, that's hard to do, right? So now you're right. The new agents coming there, whether it be your team, my team, it's that new media wave agent who is really, building those rapport, building the connections, and doing stuff like this, video conferencing and whatnot from afar and whatnot. It's just a different feel altogether. And I'm with you. So that shift is happening. I definitely see that shift happening in here in this market too. We're a young city compared to, San Diego, but we see the older agents are the kind of moving their way out kind of thing and letting us young guns kind of take over, which is cool. And I think it's fun. But I think what's good about us too is that we're adapting with technology. We're really using what's available to us to really make the experience even better, or from a distance, from afar. I've done the same thing, Kristina, where I sold a home via phone. I mean, and it happens. But to your point, they got to trust you experience-wise. You can call out the finishes and make sure that's done correctly. I mean, that's our experience. But yeah, I mean, before it wasn't a thing. So for the fact to be able to do that and sell multiple homes via that, I mean, during COVID, people were very, very smart, and they did streaming open houses. They had 20 screens on showing the house kind of thing. But those agents did really well, and obviously continue doing well because they adapted with the times. And to your point, those agents who didn't really treat it like a business because market was strong a couple years back, right? So, I mean, you put a home in the market and the odds of it selling within the first day was very, very strong, right? So therefore, you didn't really need to know much. But now, since the landscape has changed, it's really, really making agents transparent on who is really doing it for the right reasons and who was just there for the quick, quick buck. But I think right now, from experience, is when the market's down, the true agents will shine at this point. We're like, we've created something special. We've created a business. We've created a sphere. We're in communication with our clients all the time. And I think that's when we just take off moving forward.
And I think the other trend that you made me think of is I think we're going to start to see our clients buying second and third homes because people don't necessarily have to be in office anymore. They can work virtually more of the time. I have a client that I sold a property to here in Coronado. This was her third home.
Yep.
And she hops around between her 3 properties. I'm shopping with her friend next weekend that wants to do the same thing.
Yeah. And
I think that's going to be more commonplace. So not only is San Diego a small town really fast, but nationwide, it's a small town. I'm sure you and I will transact at some point. I'm sure you're going to have a Vegas person going to San Diego and vice versa. Right. We've had clients come from our New York agents in Miami. So it's not far-fetched to think that you're going to connect those dots with your agent network that you have here. And I continue seeing that as a trend just because people have more money. They are being a little cautious right now, but I also think they want to enjoy their lives and they want to be in the places that they enjoy the most.
Yep.
And the landscape of the workplace and the technology we have now allows them to be in multiple places at once. So I think we're going to see a lot of second home buyers, like looking in San Diego, looking in Coronado, looking in LA, probably Vegas, like get their penthouse to have a weekend in Vegas. I think that's going to be a very huge trend that'll continue forward over the next 5 years.
Yeah, I see that now. I see people coming here like, hey, for tax benefits, I need a house in Vegas, right? So we're seeing that. But to your point, people can work anywhere they want now, right? So if you're getting taken advantage of on your taxes where you live, like, well, where else can I go that will help me save some money and preserve my wealth? And that's going to tax-friendly states, whether it be Florida, Texas, Nevada. So we have the opportunity. And so I'm getting those calls from agents across the country like, hey, I have a client. He's a business guy. He's coming out. He wants to, do something there. I'm like, cool. Of course, I get it because I see it all the time. But yeah, the flexibility is huge now too, right? And especially with our network, we're just like that one phone call away. Like, Kristina, I got a guy. He's coming out. All right, I got him. I mean, so that's what's nice too. But you're right. It's so different. I think about this all the time. Back in the day, let's say we didn't have technology and whatnot. Let's say an agent or a client wanted to buy a home in a random state. You would just pretty much say, good luck.
Like go get the yellow pages and find the realtor with the last name that starts with A. And
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I can imagine. We are very lucky to have the technology we have. It allows us to move at a faster pace and to do a lot more business, I'm sure.
Yeah, as I have a client who's moving from Nebraska, coming here to Vegas, get relocated for his career, and I was like, oh, I'll find you a good agent out there. I'll interview him for you. I'll interview 3 agents out there that can tell who's legitimate, and I'll send them your way. Like within 2 hours, I sent him 3 agents that I was like, I recommend this person, that person, this, and like, wow. I'm like, yeah, the technology allows us to do that, right? But that client also respected who I interviewed for them because this is what we do. We can cut the bullshit immediately. We know exactly, if they're good or not. We can look them up. We can see all that stuff, right? So it saves that client time. And now you just probably gain a client for life. Like, man, this guy, nothing to do with my home out here, but he helped me with that and do this kind of thing. Like, man, JD, I'm your guy. That's huge.
Yep. So I think we'll continue to see that for sure.
And San Diego, obviously being I think some of the best weather in the world year round. So yeah. So I think it's a hot spot, for various reasons. It's weather. For me, it's taxes all day, every day. And for us too, what we're seeing that because of that, we're seeing our executive airport that's located in Henderson really beef up their operations out there. Before it was just the whales, the big gamblers, and the celebrities who come in to perform and whatnot. Now it's like the everyday businessman flying in, going to his home for the weekend kind of thing. And that's completely changed too. So with the GSX, all those private jets kind of thing, that's another industry that I think can be booming here. It's doing well now, don't be wrong, but I think even more so because people need to get around, quickly to whatever state they decide to move into.
Yeah, great point.
So next question, because you obviously get so much nuggets already, Kristina. You said I recommend, and let's go into as an agent right now in the new landscape, what's happening here. I'm sure you get DM from new agents, experienced agents. What do you tell them? Like, this is what you should do. What does that look like?
So if you're brand new, no experience, I would highly recommend getting on a team. I think navigating this business alone is very challenging, and there's so much to learn from somebody that's been in this business for so long. And you can even just being around it and hearing the vocabulary around it and how they negotiate or the terms that are used and just living it is really beneficial. I would say go see property. If a property is vacant on Lockbox, go view it, go understand different neighborhoods. And then I would start reaching out to your sphere. And like you said, your conversation changes the longer you've been in this business.
Right.
But even in those first phone calls, if you're starting with family and friends, hey, Uncle Joe, I'm actually calling you on business. Oh, really? You never call me on business. Well, as you know, I'm a real estate agent now, and I'm super excited to build my business this year. I've set some really big goals. And I would just love for you to keep me in mind if you hear anybody talking about real estate, and I would love to be connected with them. Oh my gosh, yes, of course, I love you. Like, I would love to connect you with those people. Right. So those are great first conversations to have.
Right.
And then building your professional network. So getting to know attorneys, finding networking groups that have divorce attorneys, estate attorneys, probate attorneys. They are great sources of business, especially if you get in their corner. Right. Sometimes it takes a minute to build up that trust, but usually they just want somebody that they can befriend and lean on and use you as a resource. So I would say those relationships are really, really important. And then whichever brokerage you're with, I highly recommend DE, but usually they have resources for you, right? So listening to a podcast like this, like lean into the tools that they offer you, because you're probably learning from somebody that's done this for a very long time and can speed up the learning curve for you.
Yeah.
So
I think it's 100%. I think joining a team is so important because the landscape of real estate has changed. I mean, I think there's less individual agents and more teams out there. And it doesn't have to be like a mega team. It could be like 2 agents with a supporting team, right? And that's what we're creating. These businesses, these little businesses that a single individual agent is going up against, right? It's very, very hard to do so, right? But you're in your point, being involved in a team, hearing the vocabulary, hearing the conversations, hearing the objections. I mean, you can learn so much in a matter of hours being next to an agent who's actually in the business on the grind versus kind of figuring out for yourself. I mean, you can watch podcasts all day, you can listen, but really seeing it up close, live, in person goes so much farther. And back to your point about going to see homes, when I first started, I was big on to doing home tours, like literally practicing home tours, literally diving deep into the specifics of the property, right? Everyone knows that's a kitchen. Everyone knows that's a bathroom. If you start saying that, it's a no duh, right? But if you can say, did you know this kitchen, this tile wasn't poured from here? This is actually this glass batch, all this stuff, right? And it's a quartz countertops, textured marble, whatever it may be, right? It just shows that your value is worth it too, right? So practice your tours. I can't express it enough. I don't know about you, but for me, I've done where I'm the listing agent. Another agent, not associated with my team, would bring a client in, and I would ask, agent, obviously, I respect you and your client. I would love to tour your client to really show the specifics of this home so they can walk away knowing more about the property. Are you good with that? And 99% of the time, this is your listing. Of course, you're going to know way more than I do, right? So I ask permission. They give me the thumbs up, and I do take them on a tour. A couple times it's actually happened before where I took the tour. They didn't buy the home, but that client called me later, like months, like, hey, I didn't end up buying a home. I dropped my agent. I was so impressed by what you're doing. Would you mind taking me on as a client? Obviously, got to verify everything's good. But so that's happened several times. So it's amazing by doing your job, knowing your business, knowing the industry. That can also snowball to other clients you even think about, right? But I think that's so important. You can be the listing agent, like, all right, do your thing, walk around. I'll be waiting by the couch. Let me know when you're done, right? And we all seen that, right? And so, but knowing your stuff goes so much farther. So being part of a team, learning the nuts and bolts of every single property, knowing the community. You're right, reaching out to professionals, lawyers, doctors, all that stuff. That circle that you want to be associated with, that's a circle you should be part of. And it goes back to what I want to go touch on too. It's so important for me, Kristina, is that Kristina is part of a lot of organizations, also running a lot of organizations that nothing to do with real estate. And I can't express enough how important that is, that you don't have to just do everything because of real estate. You can do things outside that you're passionate about. You have a soft heart for. So Kristina, go into the stuff that you were part of as well.
Yeah. Our team is actually, and I'm glad you touched on this, we're really big on aligning your passions with your business.
Yep.
And it's almost like killing two birds with one stone, for lack of a better term. You're really able to surround yourself with people that you like and that like you and have similar interests.
Yep.
And everybody talks about real estate. So it's like, you might as well be in that room, right?
Yep.
So ironically, I have a daughter with cystic fibrosis, and the employee on my team, Becca, also has a daughter with cystic fibrosis. Did not know this until we crossed paths. And so we have, as a team, been highly involved in raising funds for the CF Foundation.
Nice.
And I mean, obviously it's a personal benefit because it benefits my family and my daughter, but also I think it's important to always do something that's bigger than you and for the greater good, whatever that might be for you. And so we do, as a team, a cornhole tournament at the Coronado Yacht Club, and we get about 50 teams together.
Wow.
It sells out the first weekend we post that the slots are open. And it's a great day of food and cornhole and raffles. And we do really well every year. And we're going into it with the only goal to raise money.
Yeah.
We're not going into it to get business. We're not going into it to, put our names out there.
Right.
And it is good visibility.
Yeah.
But it's really important to have something with the intention of just giving back.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I think the energy and the vibrations of being in that space help bring other good things to you.
Yeah.
So I think in this business, it can be very egocentric, and it can be me. And what about me? I want to be the front facing of my business. I want my name in lights. It's important to take a step back and do something for others. And your sphere will see that your clients will see that. And it makes you more relatable too, because usually people have a cause that's important to them. And they would want to see that from somebody that they're working with. And then if somebody doesn't care about that, you probably shouldn't be working with them, right? Like you want to work with like-minded people.
Right.
So that's been really cool for us to be a part of that. And then I do some work with Rady's, some fundraising with them. And then I did some work with the Animal Pad Foundation. They bring dogs up from Mexico. So we got our rescue from there, and then we fostered dogs.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was my pandemic project. We fostered a couple of dogs and got them adopted. But yeah, I always try to do something that's about others and giving back. And I think that's an important piece. It's almost a piece of your business, right? Just to like check that box to know that you're doing something for others.
And I'm sure you agree with me. How excited are you for that event when it comes around? I mean, you're probably like, this is
the best time of year. It's so much fun. People cannot get enough of it. And then I think they see how well we put an event together, and they see how organized we are and how close we are as a team and how we operate. And it makes them want to be friends with you and want to hang out with you. And then, oh, by the way, I want to sell my house. Like it all comes around, right? So without that being the intention, just by doing those things, it's going to put those good vibes out there for you.
Absolutely. It's funny. My definitely goal is to do start my own gala, because I'm with you. I want to do something that's a legacy building that long lives me. I mean, that's what I want to do for my family, of course. Right. And so recently, the last couple of years, I've been going to a store, or I'm sure you've seen it on social media or whatnot, where I've been paying for everyone's stuff, right? So I did that for 2 years. I loved it. It was in a neighborhood where it's either 55 plus kind of thing. So money could be a little tighter on a fixed income. I don't know the situation for everybody, but even paying $10, $15, I mean, I got hugs, I got tears. I mean, it just for me, I was like, if I could do this all day, I would. Just no doubt about it. I'd be broke. But I love doing that. And not once did I mention, oh, by the way, they always ask, why are you doing it? I'm like, it's the right thing to do. I mean, and so it's funny. And they're like, where can I watch this? I'm like, oh, well, here's the link if you want to watch it kind of thing. But I never, ever said what I did. I didn't wear a branded t-shirt. I know, just me, paying. It was awesome. And I was like, man, this is fantastic. I loved it. But to your point, just doing something bigger than the real estate game itself, it goes so far. And to your point, people are going to see that, right? Obviously, if your intentions are right, people are going to see that, seeing that genuine, where you're trying to become. And then obviously, if it comes around to business, then fantastic. But you were going to do that regardless.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about it. And I think this business can really be tough on you sometimes. And if you get stuck in that grind and the heaviness of some aspects of this, then you're not going to make it.
Nope.
So to be able to have other outlets to focus on and to know that you're doing something good, I think brings you back to, to check in with yourself and to know that there's things way bigger than us, and it's just real estate. It's not the end of the world, and there's bigger problems in this world. Like, we can get through this repair request negotiation. Like, we'll be all right. Funny. Yeah.
I think I'm going through one right now. So preach. But no, I feel like. Yeah, for sure. There's so many times you check yourself, right? You're right. You get so lost in this game because obviously we're all focused. We're there for our clients, right? But yeah, taking that step back, it's very just cleansing in a way, right? It's just like, cool. This is way bigger than what we're trying to accomplish, guys. This
is a good reset.
Yeah, no, and that's how I feel, and so I think it's important that you identify what your passion is. If it's animals, if it's seniors, if it's kids. My thing is kids all day, every day. So that's my thing. And so speaking of kids, how is your daughter doing?
She's doing amazing. Oh, cool. She's super healthy, and by raising funds, they've created drugs that are as close to a cure as they've been. So It's been really cool to be a part of it and to see the treatment of cystic fibrosis just changed before our eyes.
Yeah.
When kids were diagnosed, say 20, 30 years ago, they weren't living past elementary school because they didn't have the medications they've needed. So we were super lucky to have her come into cystic fibrosis at a time when they were able to have these medications coming up due to the amazing fundraising that this group has done. So it's been really amazing to see, and she's doing very well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I applaud you so much. And if you ever want to send an invite for a cornhole, I might have some cornhole skills, so I'll be part of that.
All right, we'll have you. Come on.
Let's do it. All right, Kristina, you give so much nuggets. Obviously, your team is successful. You're successful, but it shows why. From that 52 minutes we've been talking this far, I mean, how much experience Kristina has from not only real estate, but also life. She's also dealt with some things. She's overcome things. She's building something special, but obviously she is the one you want to reach out to when it comes to San Diego. So how can they find you? How can they reach out to you? As you see above, it's got her handle up there, so you can follow her on social. I do follow her. I'm a fan, so I follow her on social too. But where else can they find you, and what else are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so that's my personal social. You can also follow our team page, the Yost Quesada team. Cool. We have our website, theyostquesadateam.com. We're also on all of the Douglas Elliman websites. If you want to be added to my newsletter, shoot me a DM. We're always sharing coming soons or new listings that we have, as well as events.
Yeah.
So if you just Google me, I'm sure you can find me.
for good reasons, of course. Yeah. So also, I think it's a great idea. If you're an agent in a different market, follow other agents that have these newsletters. And I'll tell you why it's important, right? It's so important when you can know a little about different markets, because how many times has a client come to like, hey, I'm also thinking about this market, and this market. You can go, hey, I actually know about this market. This is what they're doing out there. This is what they're doing there. You don't have to go into detail because that's not your market. You're not going to say I know everything about it, but you can say, yes, I definitely know more about it because I'm following a top agent who's really providing good information. At the same time, I know a good agent out there. So if you decide to go there, I can hook you up with someone who's amazing. So that's important too. So follow agents who have put on good emails. I do the same thing. I put on, whether it be new restaurants, new projects, new whatever, because I love selling my city. I'm proud of the city. I'm sure you are too, right? So I go taste the food. I talk to the owner, so it's cool. I like to help other businesses, but follow agents who are doing those, because it not only will help your knowledge, but they might actually give you a good idea on how to market as well. And you're like, oh, that's a good idea, right? And so it gives you ideas too. So we're all in this together in a sense, especially different markets, man. They're not going
Right.
to be competitive to you. So look at outside of people who do that, and don't be afraid if your inbox gets bombarded. You're going to get some good information from those emails.
Yeah. And network with those agents. I mean, we've gotten some amazing business from just keeping in touch with agents in other markets.
Yeah.
So it's just that one time when they have that one client ask for an agent in San Diego, you get that phone call, and that's pretty cool. So it's a long-term game. And as long as you're consistent and stay in front of the right people, it'll come back around.
Absolutely. And I've gotten responses, not saying I have a client for you, but like, nice email. Like, this is really cool. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, we're doing something right. So, right. So
we're doing it.
That helps too, right? So your motivates like, all right, it's working, right? They might not be calling with the agent, but they're going to have you in front of mind if that does happen. Like, oh, dude, JD's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a brand play, brand recognition, right?
Absolutely.
Top of mind.
Yeah. Everything you put out, try to be consistent, try to be on brand, have the same messaging across all your platforms. And that helps tremendously as well.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, last question before you go. Once again, 55 minutes of just great knowledge. This is a fun question for you, and you might have an answer or you think about it, and I'll give you some time. What would be your dream vacation? Or you might have already taken it. Tell me about that.
Oh, I could tell you what it wouldn't be. I do not do snow. I do not do cold. My family did a skiing trip when I was in high school. I stayed behind.
Okay.
I refused to go. I do not do it. I do not function well in it. That's why I went to the beach. So anything beach related. I love going to Hawaii. I've done Jamaica. I haven't done Bali. I would love to do that. Anything with sun and sand, I'm there.
Oh, wow. So so obviously you live in the right place. You're not.
I know. I don't have to go far.
Yeah, it's funny. It actually just snowed in Vegas yesterday. So
it snowed in Tucson. My family was sending me photos. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
I can't believe
weather.
It.
Yeah, so it's been snowing here almost every year since I've been here for the last 16 years. But consistently every year. What I say about that is we have a beautiful because the snow doesn't last too long. It literally melts pretty quickly. But our backdrop is beautiful. The mountains are covered in snow, but we don't got to shovel it. We don't got to worry about that. So it's a beautiful backdrop. But because I'm sure like you guys too, we get a lot of Midwesterners and East Coasters moving to the West. Mm-hmm. And they're like, JD, that's my last winter. I'm not doing that again. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I get you. I don't know how you do it, period. But for here, we have snow in the mountains as a backdrop, but you're not shoveling it. You're not putting chains on your car. You don't have to worry about that nonsense.
It's fun to see. I know. Yeah, no snow for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a more of a beach person too. But don't get me wrong, I like to snowboard and ski here and there. But I like to be inside too. I'm more like, give me a hot cocoa, put a good movie, fireplace.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kristina, I want to say thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you the first time at Aspire and obviously talking to you and more in depth about your story and what you do. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to listen to us and have either relate to you or going through these different things. So you provided so much knowledge. So I want to say thank you so much for your time. And is there any last words?
No, I appreciate you having me. And for anybody that does want to use me as a resource, I love sharing information. So I think there's more power in numbers, and I'm always happy to help anybody out.
Yeah. And I love that. And I honestly, everyone said the exact same thing. Like, just reach out to me if you have any questions. Like, it's so cool. It's not like I'm the big pedestal. No, you talk to my people. Yeah. Reach out to me. Everyone's very friendly. And this is a true testament of what that looks like. So Kristina, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the year. I'm sure we'll connect very soon, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.